Battle Royale is a heavy title these days. At one time it was fresh-faced and new, and now, like everyone, it has baggage. It carries the weight of hundreds of pretenders to the throne, the weight of expectation, and the weight of a player base of people who've had their fill of a formula they've played through time and time again. So it takes something just a little bit special to break that cycle. Sure, every title thinks or hopes it has that magic new angle to add just enough spice to excite the experience but leave the core of what's popular. So a world full of titles looking to be that next Fortnite. Just how did Apex Legends manage to land and achieve such great success? And if you enjoy this video, please do consider hitting that subscribe button, tapping that thumb up. It really helps me grow the channel and make videos just like this one. Respawn Entertainment is an interesting developer for a whole bunch of reasons. They opened in 2010 after Jason West and Vince Zampella, who created the Call of Duty franchise while at Infinity Ward, started their own aforementioned studio. Titanfall was born almost 4 years later, Titanfall 2 just 2 years after that. And in fact, I'm summing up quite a lot there. That whole transition period is rather spicy, and I do recommend reading the Infinity Ward and Respawn Entertainment Wikipedia pages, the history sections, for more details. So it's no surprise that the Titanfall games had a certain COD feel to them. After all, the founders of Respawn were massive creative influences during its inception. There were other multiple facets to those games, for sure, but that inherent FPS rightness of movement and gunplay that informed multiple generations of players was clear to see. And so we look at today, or in fact not even today, it was just a couple of days ago, the world hadn't even heard of Apex Legends. It clattered into the gaming landscape like it had vaulted from a jump ship. People didn't have much time to analyse what they were waking up to. What? This is launching today? It was over the previous weekend that people on social media, notably Rod Bresslaw, who is @Slasher on Twitter, started reporting that a Titanfall Hero Battle Royale game would be released in a matter of days, and that streamers and esports pros had attended a playtest during the previous week. That build-up was certainly a reason for it landing with such impact. No drips of information, no prejudging based off gameplay trailers and leaked demos and so on. Just name-checking a beloved-to-many franchise, linked to Battle Royale, the most popular FPS genre of the moment, powered by the EA marketing machine, and what? I can play it now? And what? It's free? You can see why that sent a jolt through every FPS fan with a pulse. Of course, marketing isn't everything, or at least it can only get you so far. A lemon of a game is still a lemon if everyone playing it turns off after discovering they've downloaded 30 gigabytes of cash cow. But this is Respawn Entertainment, a studio that knows FPS games. And although you wouldn't say the likes of Titanfall 2 were exactly riotous sales successes, you never doubted the quality of what they made. Apex Legends has that same attention to detail and love that we last experienced in Titanfall 2. It's not just the mechanics though. The movement is interesting, although more on that later. The gunplay is certainly more reminiscent of COD than it is PUBG, but it's as though they learned from so many other BR game successes and boiled that down into their own title. The non-verbal callouts through their ping tool is a system that I don't know if any new title to the BR space can now fail to include. It's so simple in operation, yet it is flexible and intuitive too. You can mark directions, paths to take, enemies, even loot, all for your teammates to understand, all without a word typed or said. What's more, after you place a marker, they can simply ping the same place to confirm that they understood or comply with the request you're making. It's a superb bit of games design that seems unimaginable to play without now. There's certainly a lot of care and attention been put into the gameplay loops that players navigate when playing BR games. On first acquaintance, probably one large change that you meet quickly is the idea of having a jump master that effectively drives the team to a location at the start of the game. We've all had the experience before when people didn't spot waypoints or hear callouts, only to have your precious teammates scattered across an area. The jump master system keeps people bunched together, it raises their chance of survival and of you having a good time. What's more, it again uses non-verbal communication to solidify the experience for everyone. It's the small things too that have had real attention paid to them. Something simple as swapping one weapon for another, something that can become almost torturous to do in Blackout, Apex handles with aplomb. You select to swap your current weapon for the new one and the applicable attachments auto-apply. No mess, no fuss, keep moving. As we've said, one staple of BRs is having teammates die. It's not a massive hassle if you're in a match-made group, but now you know you might be going into the next engagement one person down. For friends playing though, there's an added weight. You all know that person that died is now waiting, and it can be slightly socially awkward. If everyone dies and one remains, do they play the game out? And for how long? Should I just quit? Does that seem defeatist? Apex sidesteps all of this by simply letting remaining players respawn their teammates. Squads stay together, no one waits. It's an incredibly simple solution to a problem that every BR game I've ever played has suffered from. The map seems more compartmentalized and segmented than many other BR arenas. There's so much less of the wide open fields of PUBG or Blackout. These hard demarcations between the areas not only bunches players through the narrow passageways in between, but also helps avoid long sightlines, masks the overall size of the map, and allows for dramatically different visual appearances and design. You can land and have battles in one area, perhaps even win the entire match, and never venture into those other stylistically different parts of the map. This helps reduce the fatigue with the game players can experience where they're seeing the same locations with similar styles over and over. The weapons are familiar to anyone who played Titanfall 2, who take a modern military approach, similar in design and feel to anyone who's played a recent COD title, not just Blackout. The time to kill is certainly longer though, especially when shields get involved, but this is a positive move for me and reduces the general frustrations of insta-dying. What's also impressive though is the balance of these weapons at launch. Almost every weapon feels like a viable choice based on preference. If you like big damage single shot, there are multiple options. If you prefer higher rate of fire weapons that favour tracking aim, you also have a number of options. I'm sure there'll be some sort of meta of perceived, quote, best weapons, but almost every gun is usable. Now, I know I've been a bit gushing, and really there's so much that feels right about this title, but I'm not saying it's perfect at all. It's perhaps worth pointing out that when people mention Titanfall, there are certain key notions of what that name conjures up, Titans obviously being a big one. This game is in the Titanfall world, it's not a specific Titanfall title, no one is playing a Titan pilot. Titanfall may mean massive robots, wall running, bunny hopping, and map-wide grapple slingshots to you, but it should be noted you should wipe most of those from your expectations for Apex Legends. This is more about lore and art style. I can imagine that a number of those key tenets of the Titanfall experience were incompatible with a Battle Royale title, as fun as that might be to imagine, and yes, it would seem like a balanced nightmare. Most of those have not survived the cross into this game, but some do remain. Sliding, like mantling, is a universal movement skill in Apex Legends that does pay homage to Titanfall. And yes, it's a lot of fun, gaining momentum, sliding down inclines to traverse the world quickly. It doesn't go far enough, it's just too restrictive for a game in this world. That sliding is the whole mechanic, there's nothing to chain it into. Well, unless you can see like a zipline in easy proximity. My hope for the game, and in fact, if I could change one thing about the movement mechanics in Apex Legends, would be that they allow momentum to carry through a single bunny hop. Having something where people had a skill-based challenge, we're talking about timing a button press to fractions of a second upon landing, would raise that skill ceiling for movement in the game tremendously. It's a perfect example of easy to learn, difficult to master. With it being a free-to-play title, the inevitable talk about monetization also needs to happen, and for the functional unlocks of things like classes, it does seem pretty fair. I've been playing for a few days and can already almost afford to unlock one of the two characters not enabled by default. The direct sale cosmetics in the store are also okay. In my personal opinion, they tend to look pretty gaudy, but that's obviously subjective. With their hard currency, it's relatively easy to work out how much they cost in real money. If they do seem expensive or not to your taste, then it's an easy personal judgment. Less welcome are the loot boxes. I have to say that after all the controversy, the inclusion of loot boxes in 2019 feels like a retrograde move. Yes, you get them as you level, just like Overwatch, but the ability to push money into a video game with an uncertain outcome based off RNG feels like the monetization model of yesteryear. We've seen the likes of Fortnite make options such as Battle Passes famous, a way for developers and publishers to both make regular income and enthuse their player base to keep playing, no random numbers involved. And yes, Apex Legends will apparently have their own variant of the Battle Pass system in March, but for the time being, players are watching some well-off streamers pouring money into loot boxes looking for those ultra-rare, less than 1% drops. It doesn't feel like a good fit. So, Apex Legends is evolutionary rather than revolutionary. If you fundamentally don't like Battle Royales, and I can imagine people having their reasons, there's nothing in Apex Legends to say they've root and branch come up with some new gaming paradigm. What they have done though, is take their years of experience, their attention to detail, and their obvious love for games, and turn out simply the best Battle Royale title that I've ever played. It feels odd to say, but in many ways I feel like I want to congratulate the developers on, in 2019, releasing a game that's polished and in final condition. There was no beta launch, or whatever that even means these days, just an old-fashioned, here's the finished, ready-to-release package. There's such an inherent rightness to the way Apex Legends feels to me. The longer time to kill certainly appeals. There's less of being one-shot from a distance by a guy you can barely see, and that helps prioritise tracking aim, something I do enjoy a whole lot more. After Fortnite, after Blackout, I did wonder whether we'd hit oversaturation for Battle Royales. I feared for the reception that Battlefield 5's variant might arrive to, but Apex Legends shows that quality shines through. It taps into those great moments that it seems BRs only manage to create and makes them feel fresh and new all over again. I'm excited to see what Respawn has in store for the future of this almost literal overnight sensation. I'm very interested to know what you think of Apex Legends. Leave a comment below right now, I'll be reading every single one of them. Please do hit that sub button, hit that thumb button, ring that bell, so you know when the next video is ready. Thank you so much for watching, I will see you next time. Take care.